something reasonable so everybody can get me. There we go. Good evening all, welcome to the BATC Thursday Evening Net. This week, things to say, CQTV, we're beginning to look at CQTV 271, so if anybody has any articles, please can you start thinking about getting them in by the end of the month, so we can sort them out by the middle of the month to get them published. So CQTV articles please. Hopefully we have a reasonable audience here tonight. 27 on the stream, might be a few more because I did try and give it a plug with plug in Radcom to get more people on. The other thing that's been going on this week is I put out a couple of new Portsdown releases, one of which is quite a major update for the Portsdown 2020, which is worth doing. So, the running order will be Richard GI4DOH, followed by Mike G0MJW, Jim G7NTG, Colin G4KLB, haven't seen you for a while, John G7JTT, Rob M0DTS, Martin G4FKK, and perhaps Gareth G4XAT if he's there to transmit. I haven't seen anything positive there about that though. So straight round to Richard, GI4DOH, and the group GHGKQ.
Evening all, I think that's me, because I'm not listening to myself at the moment. I don't know, just take a little look and check my lip sync. I think that, I think that's an improvement on the last time I was on. I've been busy the last couple of Thursday nights, so made a point of getting on tonight. Not that I've done, I've done a lot of things, but I haven't actually achieved anything. I think they buying an awful lot of stuff on eBay, or more to the point, stuff has started arriving. I got one of these, as they did seem to be in common use, and my experience with sort of moving from the HF bands to VHF bands is with plated through holes and vias and all the clever things for getting heat away from a printed circuit board. It is quite difficult at times to solder onto boards with hot air and things like that, so the theory is I can learn how to preheat my board before doing so. So that only arrived yesterday, although I ordered it quite a long time ago, probably because I went for the cheapest price and therefore had the longest time. But that's something for me to play around with and add to my my armoury. Other things that arrived were some M5 bolts of a couple of sizes, and that's all about getting my other one of these amplifiers mounted on a heatsink, and my plan is to use 5 bolts for that, not something that I tend to use, and I just got a set of 3 M5 taps for the starter in the middle and the bottom one, and I'll try and do it properly and get things straight, not break anything and all the rest. This is all fairly new stuff to me, so still a steep learning curve, but I'm enjoying keeping some degree of insanity during lockdown. So anyway, that's enough from me for this round. I'll pass it on to Mike G0MJW, I believe I did write it down somewhere, yes, under that piece of paper. So over to you, Mike, from GI4DOH with the BATC group.
Good, I can hear I've got audio, that's good. Just shut that down. Right, well, I don't really have very much to say at the moment. I'm just watching the Mars program, ready to have the 7 minutes of terror. So that's something that's coming up. I'll just go onto the camera so you can see me. It'll be good to see what that's like. I doubt my lip sync's very good. It might be okay, because what I'm trying to demonstrate today, since I haven't got anything useful to show, is that you don't need a mega station to operate the BATC Net on Kira 100. So what I'm running at the moment is I am running, actually I'm running quite a lot of power, but I'm running quarter rate coding. So there should be a most enormous margin. I don't know what it is exactly. Yeah, so 13 dB margin. That means I could transmit 13 dB less power theoretically, and you'd still receive me. I'm transmitting 14 watts at the moment, by the way. So I could be transmitting 1 watt and it should still work. I've got a big dish, but I've used this method to get into Kira 100 using a low power amplifier that was only a 30 watt amplifier, but not obviously run at full power because you can't on DATV, and a 1 meter dish. So it's certainly possible to get in. So anyone who's got a small system, a 1 meter dish and only a few watts, have a go. That's the main thing. Not got anything much else to say, so let me just look at the order. I think it goes around to Jim. Jim, I'm afraid I have just done a really bad sales deal on your amplifiers. G7JTG, G0MJW.
Make sure we get some sound. And then mute it. Right. Yes, thank you, Mike. Yes, no, you don't necessarily need a huge amplifier. You can get away with a lot less power and still get a picture up into the satellite, which is really good. So nobody need be put off by the fact that they haven't got a mega amplifier or a mega dish. There's still ways of doing it. I do like your hot plate, Richard. I have one of those, and it's brilliant. You'll find it's very, very easy to use, pretty accurate. What I would suggest with it is that you use some heatsink compound underneath what you're going to heat up, between that and the hot plate, and that will actually encourage the heat transfer. It's a bit messier. It means you've got to clean up every time, but it really works well. Yes, soldering irons. That was the standard one I have, the standard Weller. Most people have got one that size, but I invested in the slightly bigger one, which is brilliant. It's slightly bigger. This is them side by side. It's 200 watts, and it really is worth the money. They're a fabulous iron. Highly recommended also. A bit expensive, but and the bits are the price of the Chinese iron, so it's well worth having a go with. It's all good fun. Yes, and thanks to Gareth for PCB he's sent me. Very good price for a nice high power VHF amplifier, which I will be looking at over the next couple of weeks. So there we go. Right, with that I'm going to pass it round to Colin. So G4KLB, from G7NTG on the net.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jim. Excellent. Very good. I'll just wait for myself to... Okay, thanks a lot, Jim. Excellent. Very good. Okay, let's mute myself. Okay. Hopefully I'll get a picture of it. There we are. That's it. Well, I just realised I've got to operate. We've got to operate the old... there we go. That's it. Now you can see me. That's better. Yeah, I'm experimenting with something different this week. I'm using a Pluto and NVIDIA graphics card and a script that Mike kindly let me have. So we're giving this a bit of an outing, really, just to see if it works. It's not really been tested on the satellite apart from a few minutes ago, and I've had the script running for the whole of SQ's net. So there's a danger that something might go wrong, but nonetheless. So what have I been up to? Well, I've today everything came at once. So you don't need a big amplifier, and you don't need a lot of, a big dish. Well, today on the way home from work, I collected a 2.4 meter dish, which I got in the van because it's a petalized one. It was going, it was going at a bargain price. It couldn't be resisted, and I made a half-hearted bid actually, but only one other person bid, and he was 20p shy. So I went and picked up the dish, and now it's safely secreted in my shed now. I don't know if you'll see that, but there's the segments all together. So it's safely in there now. It's quite big. It does fit in the van. It could be could be used for portable. So we got the big dish, and then I've got this heat sink. You've seen Rob show one of these. Like, there's a bit of a monster. This I got this heat sink here. There we are. You can just see me, can't you? Got this heat sink for a PA. Hang on. Giving myself a hernia here, which we might have to cut possibly, and that is for a couple of these. I'm not going to have two of them, but I got a couple of these. These are the ones that Jim was showing a couple of weeks ago, I think. These are the damaged ones, so you take your chance. I'm more than happy with what I've been given for the price, actually. So yeah, not too bad at all. Is that going to focus? It might want to focus. It might not. This one has got a couple of capacitors of missing, and the track is lifted in one place. It doesn't seem to be anything that's too terrible, actually. So for the money, I got two just in case. So I'll have to find out the value of some of the missing bits. All the sockets have been pushed in, actually. That's obviously had some weight on it. It's actually pushed into the board, but it's not. We're not going to use the sockets anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. So we'll be having a go with those. I noticed our friend in Northern Ireland there had one that came with the cover. There's no covers with these at all. I'm hoping that if I fit a die-cast box over the whole thing, that will be sufficient. I haven't seen a genuine one, and I don't know if there are like segments and that. Usually there are on this type of thing. Usually they go down onto these grounds and separate the sections. But whether just an overall cover will be sufficient, Jim might be able to let me know on the next over, possibly. So there we go. I'm not sure about the bias arrangement. I know where the bias goes. I think you connect it to where the arrow is, and I'm not sure the voltage either yet. But that's so. There's a few question marks. I'm armed with this rather nice CQ TV article, but I wasn't sure about the bias, etc., and this, that, and the other. Anyway, there we go. So more than happy with that. More than happy with that for what they cost. So I've gone the cheapskate route, obviously, but it's more fun that way, isn't it? More fun that way. But I think both of them will work. I don't see any problems at all. They took a little while to arrive. I've had all sorts of things on order. Picked up another couple of these power supplies. I don't know if we can mod them or not. Certainly they go to 28 volts without any drama. The little mod that Mike NJW told me takes it perfectly to 28, but it'll need something further to make them do any more, because I did put a pot in there. 29 is the highest I could get just by doing that. So I looked around for a decent power supply. I couldn't find anything with anywhere near a sensible price, and so I figured I'd get another couple of these. I know Dave GKQ got one. His is a different brand. Mine are Emerson. I haven't had the lid off yet because it only come today, but it does say my original one says Aztec on it. This one says Emerson, so I think it'll be the same as my other one, I reckon. But that's a work in progress. Otherwise, we're going to have to. But we'll see how we go with that. That's probably long enough for me, actually, isn't it? Hopefully, the system has kept going. Oh hello. There's information. No need to bias. Just add 32 volts. Okay, I know where that goes. All right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for that. I better have a quick. Oh right, okay. Who did I bid against? I don't know. Right, most of them work. Yeah, I'm sure. I know there's a couple of components of one of them. It's lifted the track, but it looks like it's recoverable. I think I'll be able to carefully glue that piece back down and then do a little repair without too much drama. Right, okay. 3 minutes, all right. Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, right, that's good then. I'll do that. Okay then, that'll do for me. I was just looking who it was and I missed. It's all scrolled up to see who was next. Actually, oh there we are. Oh, John's next. G7JTT. Right. Okay then. That's it then. So 7 threes. Over to John. G7JTT and the QO100 Net. G4KLB.
Almost a schoolboy error there. I forgot to turn the microphone back on. Anyway, good evening. Yeah, apologies for the slightly lower FEC, but I seem to still be having these issues with power at the moment, which is somewhat driving me nuts at the moment. Why have I just lost myself? Right, I assume there's a picture coming through. Right, it seems to be somebody else now. Why is that? Right, I assume. Right, okay. Ah, right, that's what happened. Right, it wasn't my end then. Okay. Where was I? I have some show and tell. For the first time ever, I've actually done an Arduino project. Now, I know hundreds of you have and all the rest of it, but I've been a long way of even attempted to play around with these things. But I'm quite pleased at what I actually achieved with it, which if I can get onto there and do that, I should still have audio, yeah. Right, so let's do that. That, for a princely sum of less than 12 quid, is a little GPS in there, one of the Neo 6M things, an Arduino Nano. I can't remember what else is in there. Oh, that's it, I think. Yeah, that's it. And it's just a useful little thing. I'm quite pleased with it, actually. It just tells me the time in UTC, the date, my locator, just in case the house moves, number of satellites being seen, and the altitude, which seems to vary quite a lot, to be honest. But so yeah, I've actually after all these years finally got around to doing some things with the Arduinos. The other thing I'm just going to quickly show is that, which is something that Christian gave me a good few months back or more now, and I finally got around to playing with it. So I have adjusted a little bit of the code in there, but yeah, it's going to be quite useful, because what that will do, it will allow me quickly to change stuff without having lots of different scripts, keep sort of cancelling and so on. So the idea of is that I can have the scripts elsewhere, and then I'll be able to just click on that thing and change quite quickly, hopefully. There seems to be a bit of discrepancy between what the FECs and not FEC, the bitrate, sorry, say within there.
Right, that came around a bit quicker than I was expecting. So werken. Yes, good evening all. G4FKK. I was just worrying here, Rob, because you're getting John at D 4.3 and I'm only getting him at D3, and I've got a 1.1 meter dish, so it's definitely, I'm always a dB at least less than everyone else, so I need to tweak something. Anyway, very good evening all, and Dave, I got the latest Portsdown 4 update about half an hour after I'd had a QSO with Bob G3UDI on 80, and was saying, oh no, you need a new version of the software, and told him which version I'd got, and then half an hour later you put yet another one up, so I had to let him know. Anyway, it all seems to work at the moment. I'm running it down here. Richard, lip sync's spot on this week, so I don't know if you've adjusted something, but that's working, and the hot plate looks rather good. Yeah, I can't understand that note here at 1400. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was watching your little signal earlier, Mike, and absolutely superb. I must at some point talk to you about FFmpeg scripts. I've used at least two publish, and it works. But as soon as I do a transition on OBS, the whole thing just falls apart and stops working. So I'm nearly there, but not quite. I love that 200 watt Weller, Jim. Excellent. It must have been fairly expensive, I imagine. I've just bought a new. My old Weller here. I've had this for years and years, and I have a feeling the heating element might go soon. And it was actually cheaper to buy a whole new iron than, well, only a bit more expensive to buy a whole new iron than just the heating element. So I bought one of those the other day at a great shock. I think that one cost me £1 at a rally years ago. Colin, I don't think we've spoken before on the net, so nice to see you. And the 2.4 metre dish. Someone said on the comments that your wife's going to be pleased with that. Too aggressive, Martin. Reduce the video bit rate a bit. Yeah, I've tried several things like that. I'm wondering, Mike, if I've got something not quite right in the settings on OBS buried deep somewhere. I shall give it another go. Yeah, my wife wasn't very pleased with the 1.1 metre dish that's currently living on our patio. I've carefully arranged it so A, it can see the satellite well, and B, she can't see it from the kitchen window. But she's not pleased. But 2.4 would be good, wouldn't it? And well done on winning by 20p, or as my dad would have said in shock, that's 4 shillings, you know. And that heatsink should just about do quite well to knock the satellite out of orbit if you fire that lot up with the dish. John, JTT, excellent signal this week. I think the 1/3's fixed it for me. I was getting, say, D3, yeah, D3, a dB or so down on Rob. So, and well done on the Arduino. I did a similar thing early on in my Arduino career. It's not locked at the moment. Hang on, I need to see if it focuses. But it's got one of those NEO boards in it, and it's in this little box with a 9-volt battery. When it does lock up, it gives you the your QRA locator, or if you press this button here, I don't know what it does when it's not locked, it will give you the lat and long as well. And if you've got it in your car and you get above about 10 miles an hour, it starts telling you how fast you're going. So you'll keep thinking of things to do with that, John, and tweaking your Arduino program. It's a really good way of learning that. Right, that's enough from me. I haven't really done anything else satellite-wise this week. I've been working on my automatic matching unit, and that's about it with stepper motors. So it's round to you, Gareth, and I've not spoken to you today, but trust all's well with you. So back to you, G4XAT, G4 Fox Kilo Kilo.
Right, evening all. G4XAT, thank you Martin and others for their stuff. In particular, I like that that little Arduino thingy. I've built one of the QRP Labs GPS clocks, which runs off 5 volts DC. I've taken that out in the car to determine the locator square of one of my local summits, to try and work out whether it's a legal summit or not. In fact, this is the beastie here. Try not to wreck the shack. Yeah, you can just about see that. It's a little LCD thing, and a couple of temperature sensors as well. What else? Right, I've been building the wonders of the DigiKey order. Came in yesterday, in fact. You might notice the capacitors look a bit non-surface mount, which indeed they are surface mount, but I blew a 63 volt one of those up the other day, so I thought I'll order 100 volt ones, and thinking they'd be in the same package, which is wrong. But they do fit the board. You have to scrape a bit of resist off, but it's pretty obvious for those of you who've got it. I've got some of the capacitors right, and the input attenuator and the output coupling capacitors. So that's work in progress. That's a high power filter I built for 4 meters last year, using bits out the junk box. Some incredibly high voltage capacitors, and one piece of copper wire with the windings sort of guesstimated as to be in the right place, and with a bit of tweaking it cuts off at 72 meg, so it's quite good. And the original MRF amp, the chap who sold me the board originally asked if I wanted it populated, and he quoted such a good price. I said yes, and he said, do you want the filter as well? I said yes, and all I had to do was solder the coils on. He'd even rewound those, or pre-wound them. But if you look on eBay, there's loads of this type of board. Very nice solution. Apparently, because it's a single-ended transistor, there's a lot more harmonics, so you need a better filter. Okay, what else have we got? The big power supply I showed last week, this one here. If anybody's got a manual for a SMPS 60/20E, I'd be very grateful. It has a fault in as much as it doesn't agree with the domestic earth leakage circuit breaker, and the net result being that every time I plug it in, it pops a trip. Runs fine on the generator. I took the lid off it, and someone had added one of those bolt down mains filters with a couple of inductors and capacitors to deck and things, and a motor run capacitor across the mains, which I'd hazard a guess is to do with power factor or something. Anyway, I took them out. Doesn't make any difference. It's an interesting circuit. It comes in through the mains, through the main breaker, and then straight into a bridge rectifier. There's nothing else. It's into the bridge rectifier, and then it scoots off and feeds all the electronics. And I noticed somebody asked about those power supplies. There's a thread on the forum I started pointing you to the link, and it looks as though he's a pretty reliable seller, given by the number of those that have appeared. If you can't manage to tweak them up to 32 volts, it is quite easy, relatively, to get those HP server power supplies up to 16 volts, and then isolate the 0 volt rail on the second one and stack them up. And that's one of my projects, to build a multi-voltage, so 12 volts for a stealth amp, 13.8 for other stuff, 14.2 on the second one, so you can add those together for 28, and then 16 on them both to get 32. Anyway, waffling on. Let somebody else have a go. So round to F5
Merci beaucoup. On va passer la parole à Jean-Paul Berthias parce que la phase atmosphérique va doucement commencer à se dérouler. Jean-Paul, je me tourne vers vous.
En ce moment, donc, la sonde prépare à se séparer du module de croisière. Donc, ils ont armé les couteaux pyrotechniques qui vont rompre donc, les liaisons qui maintiennent la sonde attachée au module de croisière. Et là, ils sont en train d'éteindre tous les équipements. Voilà, donc ils éteignent les instruments du module de croisière en ce moment et ils ont vidé donc, toutes les lignes du système de contrôle thermique de façon à faciliter la séparation. Et donc maintenant, on attend...
C'est la NASA TV qu'on voit là sur les images.
C'est la salle de contrôle.
Voilà, donc vous voyez à l'écran donc, les salles de contrôle telles que vous ne les avez jamais vues, parce qu'à cause du Covid, il n'y a qu'un poste sur 2 qui est occupé.
Ouais,
et donc les gens sont répartis dans plusieurs salles. Donc ça, c'est la salle principale que vous voyez à l'écran. Mais il y a aussi des salles secondaires dans lesquelles ils ont réparti les différentes personnes qui suivent l'évolution des sous-systèmes en ce moment.
Merci Jean-Paul, on va avoir plus de communication avec vous, effectivement. Ça va Michel, vous êtes sur une demi-fesse là, sur le tabouret. Ouais.
Ça approche.
Allez, une séquence importante, c'est dans quelles conditions météo Persévérance va se retrouver en touchant le sol martien. On va retrouver tout de suite Émeric Spiga, qui est planétologue à l'université. Dans l'air au moment de l'atterrissage et puis surtout les écarts de
degrés. Donc vous voyez, si vous faites le petit calcul, il y a des écarts entre le jour et la nuit qui sont de 100 degrés. C'est quelque chose qui n'existe pas sur Terre et qui ressemble un peu aux écarts de température qu'on peut avoir dans les déserts. Donc c'est pour ça qu'on dit souvent que Mars est un méga désert.
Ouais. Est-ce qu'on a choisi le moment météo le plus opportun pour poser Persévérance? Ce n'est pas le seul paramètre évidemment, mais est-ce qu'on est dans des conditions météo optimales?
Là, on est dans des conditions des contraintes pour freiner avec le parachute, etc., etc. Mais on regarde aussi la météo, et notamment ici, on est sorti de la saison des tempêtes de poussière, et donc on n'a pas d'événements de grande ampleur, et donc a priori, on a une atmosphère qui ressemble à l'atmosphère pendant longtemps sur la saison de printemps sur Mars, et donc c'est assez prévisible.
I'm assuming that you asked me to go next, Dave. Just checking audio, which I'm not getting for some reason. Ah, here we are. Okay. Yeah, good evening everyone. I'm sorry that I'm late on tonight. We're working a 2 weekly afternoon or evening shift at work, so this week I've been working afternoon and evening, so I didn't get in until late. Next week I'm back on days, which is I'm not too sure which I prefer really, but let's get back to my picture. There we are. Okay, the power supply that I was actually mentioning earlier is this one. This is a Nemic Lambda 24 volt at 27 amps, and I've got to try and get it in front of the camera. There we are. And it's got a 27 amp output. It'll go 28 volts, no problem, before the OV cuts in, and a nice fan as well. And I use this one on my TX, and it's running now in the garage, powering the PA. It's quite happy doing that. I let Martin have one of these, and also John JTT. And if anyone would like one of these, they're 35 quid each. And they're very good. The only thing I have to do is to put this thing on and see what sort of current my TX is drawing. I've not used this yet, so I must do that at some time. Getting it right in front of the camera when it's back to front is a little bit difficult. There you go. Right, that's about it. That's really what I wanted to mention. Colin, I'm sorry it's not 35 amps, but I guess mine's drawing around about 12 amps down in the garage, but it copes with it beautifully. And power factor corrected, tiny little thing, and there it is. That's all it is, 27 amps. Okay, I'll pass it on now. I'm not sure who's next, but anyway, good evening to everyone. I won't come back for the second go if you don't mind. I'm going to hit the sack, which I did early last night as well, and I was absolutely shattered yesterday. It's a bit hectic at work, to say the least. Okay, G0DQH in Chandler's Ford, just 5 miles north of Southampton, over to
Okay, thanks James. Good to see you this evening. Thanks for coming on even though you're just back from work. Right, busy week here. The power supply has grown some a power pole output connector. I tried to mount it inside, but decided too much surgery was required, and it is a different design from most other people's, but anyway, 27.2 volts is pretty good. That sort of current, quite happy with that. So that's done. That prompted me to think, I haven't got enough power poles. So this week's order has been a whole stack of power poles, including some very nice purple ones to go in between two red and black ones for 28 volts, so I don't accidentally stick a 12 volt supply in in 28. I've got some pinks for 50 volts actually, Mike. But basically, if they've got another colour in, think twice before you connect it up. And yes, they were from Torbury. So that's the power supply front. The other thing I've been playing with is this fella, this is one of the prototype Lime RFEs, and this is a multi-band power amplifier to go on the end of a Lime, and a preamp for receive. This one does HF 144 437 2.4 gigs and 3.4 gigs. The production ones do a few more bands. They do 50 and 70 megs. And Portstown 2020 will eventually drive one of those. I've just put out a release, dev release that sort of does that. Talking of Portstown releases, yeah, all right, I'll stop shouting, Mike. Talking about Portstown releases, there is another one for you, Jim. I found I'd changed the caption to say Portstown 4 with a space, and that disabled FFmpeg. So there is an update that it re-enables FFmpeg, Jim G7NTG. They're coming thick and fast at the moment. On the subject of FFmpeg scripts you were mentioning, Martin, there's two factors really. There's how constant a bit rate your encoder does when the picture changes fast. Now clearly when your picture changes fast, it spikes on the bit rate. The better the encoder, both hardware and software, the better, the more constant the bit rate is. The other thing to think about is how much margin you allow between the bit rate you set, the constant bit rate you want, and the maximum bit rate that the transport stream can take. Now, in the early days of Portstown, I set that down sort of 35% margin, something like that. With the better encoders now, we can get up to about 80%, and I think Evereast runs near a 90. But there's those two factors. There's how constant is your bit rate, and how close to the margin are you running it. Well done on the Arduino, John. Really good. I haven't really gone down the Arduino route at all. Too much else going on. I've been playing with some Python today, and that really blows my mind. I don't have a PCB bed heater, although I must admit to have used the cooker once or twice, although now we have an induction hob, I'm not sure that would work quite as well. So that's all there is from me. Noel's sitting this one out. He's not feeling too good tonight, but I know he's watching. So let's go back round to Richard. Rob, when you sort out your audio, give us a shout and we'll slot you in. GI4DOH to take it, G8GKQ.
From GI4DOH with the group. Thanks, Dave. I'll turn the volume down. I'm still learning. That's sorted. Yeah, got a list of things. Yeah, going back to Jim. Thanks for the tip about putting the heat transfer paste on that. Before putting the job on top of it. I think I'll reserve the Arctic Silver for final things and use cheap PC CPU stuff. I think I've got a few sachets of stuff which is quite messy but was cheap. And Colin, what you were saying about the Oh, that's the heatsink that you had. Yeah, that's you've put a fairly big PA on top of that. But yeah, the amplifier is which camera I'm using at the moment. That is the one in the box. I think actually I do have the roaming camera. That was the and change over to it. I'm new to this game. My PA that I'm using at the moment is the one that came with the heatsink on it, the one with the screwed down transistors on it. Just I can't multitask. This is the problem. So one of the nice things about the other amplifier, although I've got to let's see, what way is this camera pointing? Although I've got to mount it on a heatsink because it's in the box, again I can use one of these cheap boxes to actually enclose the whole thing. I don't need to worry too much about keeping RF in. Other things on, not to be outdone, on the Arduino front. This is a little unit that came up, I think it was the 122 gigahertz group or something, the weather box, which is using this weather sensor and an Arduino then to display. I just haven't got the contrast I need. It's showing me my location because it's got a GPS connected as well. It's telling me what the air pressure is and also what the losses are and things like that. The frequency of my choice, and it's all Arduino based with the little touchpad there to set the parameters if I need something other than the defaults. So again, I'm not used to this multitasking. Another thing that that just started with easier to show in front of this camera, which seems to be responding a lot better, is a little MMDVM board. I haven't tried DMR before. Lots of little handhelds kicking around the house here, and I've got FM on 2 meters and 70 centimeters from a number of devices. I just don't I don't generally use a microphone, full stop. So this is another avenue that I haven't gone down before, and again, steep learning curve with lots of things to learn on that. So all good stuff, and I never thought I'd ever go above 50 megahertz, and it's an amazing world up in these higher frequencies. So I'll pass it on. Oh, the other thing, yeah, Noel, thanks for putting that link up, the eBay link up. I jumped at that and it was all done, just the press of a button, and I haven't told the wife yet, but I'll maybe confess later on I want to go down for a cup of tea. So I think it's round to Mike now, G0MJW. This is GI4DOH with the group. So good night to you all, and hopefully see you next week.
Right then, I'm here, finally. Hey, it's working, that's amazing. Right, where are we at? Now nothing else will probably work, but we'll see how it goes. See what that's like. Oh, that's better. We're back to lower latency and things now. Yep, evening everybody. Unfortunately, not really a lot to talk about this evening. Been busy doing things, but not really much to show of it, really, I don't think. Colin, your video's looking superb. It's much better than what mine is at the moment. And somehow you were managing to squeeze 1920 by 1080 in the 333 2/3, so that was quite impressive. So that was pretty good. I'll have to have a go myself and try and get this working, but normally I just like the simplicity of the encoder box, which I can just switch on and it just works. But recently I was upgrading a Pluto for somebody else, and I was trying various different firmwares and things, and anyway, I ended up updating the main one that I use for Sail, and I changed that to a newer version. It isn't the latest, it's a couple of versions back, but since I did that, for some reason I just have some weird things going on. So anyway, what I've done is I've got my other Pluto, which I was using for the narrowband 3.4 gigs and stuff like that, and GB3 KM tests. Got that back out and loaded my latest patch on there anyway for reducing the latency, and a couple of other things with the encoder box and that a little while back, and it's working. So I might just put this back on the other version and let it run on there. So yeah, this is quite an old version. It's probably a year old, I think, maybe. But what are we on? 2908. Yeah. I saw that there. It's landed. Oh, super. Wait for the helicopter next day. That's all impressive stuff, isn't it? I was going to try and track some signals and things, but I've been having a few problems with the dish tracking and things like that. A few weeks ago I had the dish tracking something. It was one of the prober satellites anyway. The dish managed to go around about 5 times and obviously wiped out loads of cables, coaxes, control leads, the whole lot. So I had quite a bit of a problem there. So that causes some problems. It didn't kill the driver circuitry, so I replaced all the cables, got it all back up and running, and basically some moisture had got into the control box on the H-bridge driver, which I showed last week, I think, and it had taken out some of the FETs on there. So got that fixed now. So I've been on with this today a little bit anyway. So that is my dish controller circuitry, and that is basically all from the encoders, which sense the position. So that's actually the 2 direction azimuth drive and elevation drive there, the H-bridge. That takes in your PWM and direction signals. You've got it's modified for 24 volts on one of them and 12 volts on the other. As it is, it's a single voltage. So I had to wire in, but there's a little bodge wire around here where it blew the track up. So that sorted that anyway. That's a little Arduino Nano, seeing as we're featuring those today. And then up the top here on the bit of Vera board, which is a 4 years work in progress, but you know, that's how things go, isn't it? I've never got a board made up yet. I've got the board layout done, I've just never actually completed it and got it made. So basically there's a Max 485 for twisted pair signal back to the shack, which happens to be this one at the moment. And then there's a couple of other ones for the twisted pair data to the US digital encoders, which plug into that little RJ11 socket there. And that's pretty much it. So quite simple really. But I've just noticed my power supply reset there. I don't know whether you noticed that went off. My Thirlby power supply is on its way out. The voltage is going up and down all over the place. Lovely. Anyway, so yeah, I've just been getting that back up and running again. Reloaded the firmware on the Arduino, which I killed. Yeah, we shall see. But right, let's go back to the other camera. There we are. So that's basically what I've been on with. And I've got some nice shiny white front panels as well to put on the 2 meter amplifier and the 2.4 gig amplifier. Still working on those. So there we go. Right, I better go and try Everest new firmware. and have a look at this landing on Mars. So yeah, I'll probably not come back on again now. I don't think, but we'll see. We'll see what happens at the end, see if I've got anything else to talk about. So, on to Mike, G0MJW, M0DTS, on the BATC QR100 Net. Well, the video catches up before I even get to the switch.
Oops. Wow. Pictures of Mars. Amazing, really. I'll just shut that down. As you can see, it's landed and everyone's cheering, which is great news. It's been a long time coming. And yeah, everyone's going to be shouting about that for a while. Right, I don't think I've got a lot to add, but I have taken some notes. Martin, I'm happy to help you with any particular bits of the coding that you have trouble with, but it is a bit of a black art, and stuff that works for Ever-East and Eves doesn't work for me. I don't know, I think you probably have to be French for it to work properly. It's got something to do with that. Ever-East, your audio was some strange thing which wasn't related in any way to what you were showing us pictures of, neither the accordion or anything else you were showing us, so I'm not sure what happened there, but maybe you'll have another go. Good to see the 4-metre PA, Gareth, that's making good progress. It's quite expensive though, so I'm trying to find a solution to that. Do we really need to spend £36 on ATC 1 nanofarad capacitors, or can we get away with something a bit cheaper? So I'd be interested to have an idea about that, because it is quite pricey to build it up if you buy the capacitors from DigiKey, and in several cases they're out of stock, so someone's been buying them up. But I do have some of the capacitors, but not all of them, so good that you're building that. It'd be interesting to see how you get on. John, on the Arduinos, that was interesting. I've been using Arduinos for quite a while now. I can show you an example over there in the shack. There's a clock which you can't really see because it's too far away, but it's a GPS clock that I was using for testing my latency. Very, very simple thing. I think I showed it a few weeks ago, but that's an Arduino, and the power meter that I used to show pictures of, that was an Arduino as well. And in fact, if I go to the other screen again, so that you can see this QO100 PA status, which tells me I'm transmitting 11 watts, the supply voltage of 11.87 volts, that's Arduino as well, an Arduino with an Ethernet shield. So that's an Arduino. Power supplies, yes, the 28 volt supplies from the Netherlands. I'm glad you managed to get one, Richard. They're very, very good. Note though, you do need to blow some air through them. It might not seem obvious, and it doesn't need to be very much air, but just a waft of air going through, that'll be enough. One thing I think I showed last week were these things. Let me get them. It was last week, probably the week before, that I made up. I don't know if you can see that. I think I showed you them. It's got power poles on the back. Very, very useful for plugging into those power supplies in series to see how much current, how many volts. So I was using mine in the 23 SEMS contest on Tuesday, and I noted that the current went down and the power output went down. So there's something wrong with my 23 SEMS amplifier. It recovers, but it goes off. Must be thermally related. And here's one that's built into a different case for general purpose use. This is only 30 amps, but you can get 75 millivolt current shoots up to 300 amps if you really feel inclined. Right, okay. Oh, and Rob, I learnt with my Radimec that you can never trust software to stop something. It caused quite a bit of damage, which I managed to fix mostly, but they're very powerful, those things, and bits of cable will not stop them rotating. And nor will the gears. The gears will eventually bend, so yeah, you need to be careful with that. Okay, 7-3 everyone, I think that's enough for now. I assume it's going back round to Jim. If not, please tell me, but let's assume it is. So, put up the test card again. G7NTG, G0MJW.
Right. Okay then. Just make sure I've got audio. I have, yep. Turn it off. Right. Yes, thanks, Mike. Right, a couple of things here. The Richard, the heatsink compound I use for everything, seems to be very good for all uses, is the Dow Corning 340. That's 340. It's fairly cheap, and I buy it in big 100-gram tubes, and it seems to work well. And yeah, Colin, if you want to contact me by email, you can find me at my email address on qrz.com, but I put it on earlier. Overall cover is absolutely fine. Just they work fine, even in a really big enclosure. They don't give any problems, and there is no bias. You just apply the full voltage. Circulator in the middle of the circuit that needs bypassing because it's the wrong frequency really, and it will reduce the output a lot. So if you give me an email, let me have your email address, I can actually give you my conversion details the way I did it, and also I've got details of a nice cheap easy to build power supply, 32 volts to go with it, which is low cost and gives lots of oomph, about 33 amps output, so it's very good, works nicely. Those hot plates work very, very nicely. I used one today to take apart this amplifier to remove this from the heat spreader. So I removed the transistors and the driver transistor, and then lifted the PCB from the heat spreader. So I've got the heat spreader is now my jig for drilling, and then this is easy to remove components as an organ donor. It was sent to me by Bison Electronics as an organ donor. I bought a few and he sent me a few extras that were too badly damaged to be any good, but with lots and lots of good components on them. So that was very handy and very nice of him. Right, I think that pretty well covers it, and I think it's round to Colin now. So G4KLB from G7NTG with the net.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot, Jim. Excellent. Yeah, I'll send you an email. I spotted the address, although
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot, Jim.
I have
I'll send you an email. I spotted.
I have seen. Oh, if I click the right, if I click the right thing, it'll help. I've got to get used to using this this OBS, but I watched the mini tune. Have the mini tuner at the same time. Hang on, that's the wrong one. There we go. There we go. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that information. No, I'd got this information that was in the CQTV, this one here, which gives the detail for bypassing the circulator and where the power goes, etc., etc. So that's good. But I think we'd seen on this one there was a little device just here, and I assume that's just running a fan. I think that you just put a little regulator for the fan, but I'd assumed it was for the bias, which was not correct. So thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, that was it. Because I see that little wire going over. So that, yeah, that's it. So that's clarified that. So that's very good indeed. Yeah, I'll send you an email anyway, just so that you got mine. You probably have anyway, but I'll send another one just in case. We have communicated. Oh yeah, I had some kits off you, didn't I? I had some kits off you for the 23 SEMs. That's right. I'm looking forward to getting on with those as well. Oh yeah, use a fan. Oh okay, yeah, fine. Understand. Right. Oh, Richard's bought the 340. That's good. Well, this is good, isn't it? It's handy for this sort of thing. I think I saw somewhere where you'd put three 12-volt ones in series. I think that was one of the things. But anyway, I'll send an email, so that'll be fine. But I say I have got loads of these. I mean, they're 1300 watts, so that's more than enough. Even if you take it to 32 volts. 28, they're absolutely fine. These. If you do the little mod, I see some are advertised as 28, but they're 27.2 actually. But the little mod that's on the forum that Mike worked out to get to 28, because that's what he wanted, works fine. You can't get any more than, or you can get 29 actually. And then it starts, but it was a little bit too close to the edge. But other mods to the circuit might be possible. They might not, just as equally. But I can afford. I've got 3 of these, so I can afford. One is modded and finished, but I can afford to risk. I can afford to risk one in my quest. It's a shame. I tell you a secret. I heard that Dave GKQ had got one, and so I thought, well, I'll buy another couple because he's bound to work it out. And it turns out he got issued with a different one. There are 3 possible ones you can get. There are 3 different brands. They all perform the same function and they all look the same, but they're made by 3 different manufacturers and their innards are different. And unfortunately, Dave got the other one. So. That was a bit of a shame, really, or I would have been onto something there. But but never mind. That's neither here nor there. But there we go. Okay, yes, I've also had the. I haven't had any audio on, but I've had the landing on, obviously, because it's an interesting thing. I say ours landed. The Beagle landed all right, didn't he? Beagle 2 got down there all right. That was really unlucky, wasn't it? That was really unlucky because that was very, very close. Maybe we're going to go and give it a kick. It'll probably start working. So there we are. Okay then, let's have a look. Let's have a quick look on there. The socket is easy to modify for power poles. Yeah, I showed on SQ that. In readiness for this, I bought this. I did this quick because there's plenty on tonight. Might not do it at all if I can't open it. I did purchase a 4.5mm bit of brass, and it fits these sockets absolutely perfectly. You can see there's no wobble at all. It's gripping it nice and tight. So I can cut them off and use them as some form of connector. Difficult to find 4.5 because you can get 4 or 5. 4.5. Anyway, I found some on eBay, so there's plenty there. Okay, that's probably enough because there's quite a few on. Hello, what's that? For those without a 3D printer. Oh, okay, yeah, that's good, yeah. 4mm plug fits inside. Okay, that's another one. That's another one. Excellent. I could probably use one of the. I quite like use these. I better not unplug any. Actually, I don't think I'll risk unplugging some because something will go off if I do that. But then I got some nice banana plugs from RS or Rapid. They seem to do some pretty decent ones. I use those for power, even that's naughty, because obviously I should be using power poles, but the number I'd have to change, I couldn't face it. I started off using power poles for the van, but in the end I haven't fully converted yet. But I did make some little adapters to go from one to the other, so that bits that come in from the van can be operated in the shack. So, oh dear, there we are. £5.95. What? 4mm fuse. Oh, 4mm fuse. Yeah. So strictly, they should be 4.5mm. But it depends. What the first one I've got, the one I've done the mud on, one of those connectors is a little bit wide. It seems to be squashed. And on that one, oh, it's not on it. It's in my bag. I have got the proper plug for that one. But there we are. I couldn't get any of the other ones, so we'll do something else. That's really neither here nor there, really, the actual output. But there we are. Okay then. Oh, a 4mm plug fits inside the 4.5mm tube perfectly. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I'm with you now. I understand what you're saying there now, Jim. Yeah. I didn't buy tube. That's solid, that one. I think in tube's easier to get and cheaper actually, and you could use a plug. That's a blinking good idea actually. That would have worked extremely well actually. Right, okay. And Mike just chopped him off. He likes the power poles, so we'll see how we go. Power poles make a very good connection. I do like the power poles if you buy the proper ones. There are some that look like power poles, and some people sell them as power poles, but they're not the same. There are Chinese copies, and they're not quite as good. They don't actually contact quite so well, actually. So you get what you pay for. There you go. Right, that's it then. That'll do. I have a tendency to go on a bit, but I'm pleased this worked. This script has been running for over an hour now. So I'll have a quick look, see if there's any errors. Not too bad. No, that's actually going really well now. Not a lot of movement on here, obviously, at the moment, so we'll have to check it for that. But yeah, very pleased with that. So thanks to Mike for that script. And then they're right on their current limit. Okay, yeah. Right, okay, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, well, you could go for the 63 amp, couldn't you? I'd probably go up one, probably. They do a 63 amp, don't they, and a 100 amp, I think. But they change size, don't they? I think the 40 amp ones are is it 40 or 45 amps? The size is the same, just the actual bits that go together. Well, actually, I think it's just the cable size really is different, and then you transition to what I've got in the van actually that connects the battery charger, but they turn into really quite big ones then, so do 100 amp or more. But that's a bit industrial. It's a bit industrial, but that's what I've got on the battery charger, because that can charge at 40 amps. Right, okay then. SEM3's then G4KLB. Now about to try and operate this thing. There we go. That's it. What's the time? Crikey, yeah, it's getting on a bit. Okay then, SEM3's G4KLB.
Hopefully that's in. Hopefully Windows to catch up. Right, I have sound. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yep. Right, okay. Not a lot more to add other than I just switched on my VLS stuff and realised that the alpha signals are back on again. So for anybody that has VLF capabilities, you can see there's one there, there's one there, and there's one channel there. So all three there you can see. There's the one. I should go zoom in a bit more. Let's try and zoom in a bit more. There you go. So you can see them just there. If I get to center screen, there's the 1, 2, and the third one is there. So there you go. Whoever wants to look on VLF and see if they can see these things. The noise on there is just horrendous. I need to remotely put this thing about 100 miles away from here just to get rid of it. All my neighbours seem to have this LED type stuff at the moment. It's just creating so much noise. It's just ridiculous. Kind of makes a lot of bands almost
the Ryde, because it's picked up an adjacent channel. There we go. I imagine it's probably working now. This is confidently. Right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's all been exceptionally interesting this evening. I don't know what you dropped out again, John. Maybe it's just the latency. And I think the fishes in the background were making the picture a bit blocky overall, because I'm sure it was not blocky at all earlier on. But anyway, very good. While I think of it, Mike, if you're still watching, if I can find display 2 on here, I think I've... Dave was saying about the bit rate, so I think I may have answered... Dave's probably answered what was bothering me, but so here's the... what is this? This is the script I've been using, more or less. Yeah, I think it's the right one. So I've been worrying about the mux rate 440k, and I assumed that was the maximum bit rate you could use. But I'm wondering what this B:\V 300k is. Is that the bit rate you're talking about, Dave? So I could tweak that down a bit. Maybe. I just don't know. As you can tell, I'm not an expert on that sort of thing. Very good. Oh, briefly, John, my satellite thing finally locked up. Come on, focus. It might do it one day. You can probably just see it. It's got the QRA locator, and if I press this button for long enough, it puts the Latin long in very minuscule letters. I've also adapted, well, I've used another one of those NEOs, John, on my GPS locked frequency standard, which I think I've probably bored people with before. That's got one of the same receivers in it, and an Arduino, and a Nextion display. That's the next thing you want to try, John. They're really good, and they're touch screens as well. I've also made this into a GPS locked frequency generator. I won't change that because that's what's locking the Pluto at the moment. But it's got two other clocks on the SI 5351, so you can change all those. Sorry about my terrible camera work. That back. Oh, and Colin. That's not typical. 3 different manufacturers, a bit like the old wartime civilian sets. I think they were. I think all the British manufacturers were making those in the war, and they're all very slightly different. And I've got about 10 of them I collected years ago. I thought I'd try and get the whole set, but then I grew out of that. The Lime RFE looks interesting, Dave. Oh, and I forgot to say, get well soon, Noel. Apparently Noel's not feeling well, so I hope he gets better soon. Sorry your dish tracking mangled itself, Rob. And I think, Mike, if that wasn't the solution to my script, I think what I really need is a new PC. This is just an old Office i5, no NVIDIA cards or anything like that in it. And I was doing a lot of transport stream messing about the other day and firing things up on all sorts of different computers around the house, and the CPU was up at 95% on my poor old office machine here, so I think a new PC's in order as well. Jim, yeah, I've got some of that. Well, I'm not sure it's Dow Corning. It's very old, and I'm very, very stingy with my heatsink compounds, so that's lasted about 30 years so far. And Evereast, I think, well, Mike's already said what you were showing looked very interesting, but we were getting a man and a lady speaking French, which sounded beautiful, but it was slightly beyond my O-level French, I'm afraid. But I got the gist of it though. And I don't know if that new firmware you put up, I guess that's your latest .frm for the Pluto. Anyway, I'll stop droning on. I'll put it round to you, Gareth, if you're still there. So thanks, Dave, for running the net and for all the useful tips people have been handing out this evening. G4XAT, G4FKK.
Right, okay, thanks Martin. G4XAT from G4FKK and the BATC Thursday Evening Net. Right, those capacitors, Mike, whoever drew up the parts list must have had a big pile of those things. As somebody pointed out, they are just decoupling capacitors, which by my understanding means they don't need to be quite so robust. So I chose capacitor ceramic 1000 PF 200 volt NPOs in 1812 packages, and that's what I fitted on the board. If they let the smoke out, I'll let you know, but they look physically similar to what was on the sample board I was sent, I suppose. The only ATC ones I bought were for the output stage, and in fact the output capacitors, the pair of 470 PF ones, they're just 500 volt NPOs, I think. Okay, I don't like power poles because they're too much money, but I do like these little babies. These are what's called XT60s, and they're rated at 60 amps continuous. I've met them in the radio controlled flying world, where they get subjected to 10 minutes of 60 amps or whatever, and repeated disconnects. Very easy to fit onto things. There are a variety of 3D printed models that allow you to mount them. This is an XT90, which is 90 amps continuous. I was going to use that for my 50 volt supplies, just so I can't plug them all into each other. But at the other end of the scale, also from the land of radio control, that goes into my power supply. And then on the other end, for anything that wants an amp or two, I use these, which are called JSTs, on silicon leads. They're keyed, so you can only get them in one way, and they have wiping contacts, so they're quite good. I've been using them for years on things, and touch wood, and never had any trouble. Right, soldering irons. Well, I think I've still got some of the one that I picked up in 1980, second hand, probably just the barrel. It's a bit like Trigger's brew of the soldering iron world. And I think I've still got the power supply. The 3 device boards, yeah, they're lovely, those are. One of the ones I bought had one of the output capacitors smashed. I took one of its friends off, measured it, it's 12 PF, so I bought one of those on the last big order from somewhere, DigiKey or Mouser, I think. Okay, very nice to see all the bits and pieces everyone's up to, so I'll shut up and pass it round to F5 Oscar Echo Oscar from G4XA.
I've been playing around with things. Let's switch that back on. There we go. Right. Yeah, no audio at all that time, Everest. We had audio last time, but that was to been from a recording. It showed you had audio on the transport stream, but not actually any audio coming through. Okay. Yeah, well, I got a pack of those just recently, Gareth. The XT60s to use on a few things, because they are extremely cheap. Probably not genuine, of course, but well, I did actually get them to modify another battery to use on the little drone that I got, which I haven't really done a lot with yet, but do plan on doing a few lightweight antennas up in the air just for receive, and then somehow streaming them back to the shack on Wi-Fi or some means anyway. Not really thought about it too much yet, but I'll give that a go. Yeah, there's one question for the OBS FFmpeg experts. I don't seem to get anything other than garbage when I read in the OBS-audio direct show input into FFmpeg. It just spits out. You can tell audio is there, but it's as if it's like in the wrong format or something. Not really sure why that's happening, but because that can't be the virtual cam. Well, it might be the virtual cam output, but it doesn't say anything to do with audio. So I'm not really sure where that comes from, because some of my other software doesn't see the OBS-audio as an audio device anywhere. So yeah, any comments on that would be welcome. One thing I didn't mention was yeah, I'm using the plugin, John. Yeah. I don't know what version I'm on. I'm on 26.1.1 of OBS, and I don't know what virtual cam plugin version it is. It'll be ancient, I would imagine, but the video is working fine. Yeah, so you may be seeing a slightly different coloured van in the near future, because that is the big list of problems that we have. There's quite a lot to repair, but the bottom part is also quite a lot to get fixed in the end. So yeah, basically something's going to be changing, but who knows when. The price of vans have shot up in the last year by probably double second-hand market value, I would imagine. So anyway, I'm going to try and get this one just working for now, and then it's definitely going the journey. It's on its last legs, literally. So very rust-coloured, yeah, underneath. The audio is the only thing that works. Oh dear. Thanks, John. Yeah, I'll copy that and I'll put that latest one on. I take it the OBS audio comes from the virtual cam plugin. I'm going to guess that, because there's no settings in OBS to get it. May the 5th, 2020. Okay, yeah. Okay, I shall download that shortly. Well, I'll do that now while I'm on anyway. Get that installed and we'll see what happens. But yeah, the video looked perfectly fine. Just audio. The only other thing I've done is that's the little another Arduino. You know what it's like. I'll buy these by the dozen generally now. I've got some more on order as well, because that is the last one. So that's the little control board for the 2-meter amplifier. I've got a bit more to do on that, and then there's the 1.8-inch TFT screen, which has got a little header on the back, so it can go through the front panel. There's so many ways of doing these things, isn't there? But anyway, so yeah, there's a little 1.8-inch screen, and they're not very easy to mount on the front panel. So I printed a little 3D printed a little insert there, and then basically inside there, this turns around, slots into there, and then you can just use a bit of double-sided sticky down the sides here, super strength double-sided sticky tape. And possibly a little hot melt glue on the back just to hold it in position. But that goes up against the front, the gap on the panel. I'll just get a panel. Hang on, bear with. So yeah, there's one of the front panels I've got painted. It's just hardening up, sitting on the radiator, and then basically that just sits up flush against the back of there, and then you get the screen in the front. So it should look quite good when that's sorted. So yeah, that's the front of the 2 meter PA anyway, which looks very similar. To the other one, so there's going to be two white fronted devices there, so things are progressing a little bit. Haven't done any more on the actual 2 meter amplifier itself. That's all good, I think. Seem to be working okay. I just need to actually just wire all the switching up and things like that now. Right, just see if there's any comments. Nice straight edges. Aha, that's because the computer did that, that's why. Yeah, Tools Virtual Cam, that's right, Colin. Yeah. It's cheating. Yeah, I use that very regularly, Martin. Anything that I do that can go under the milling machine goes under the milling machine generally. If it's a front panel cutout, I haven't actually got any examples here. What was the last thing I did with that? Trying to think now. Can't see anything to hand that I've done with it. But generally, I don't know. Oh, anyway. Yeah, it'd be nice. It's going to be interesting to. I don't know whether anyone's following Neil G4DBN, but he's doing a lot of work on his lathe to partial CNC on that to machine some dishes for 122 gigs. Not large dishes, but he's going to have a really, really nice profile on them. So. Really accurate, so that's going to be really interesting because I kind of fancy doing the same here on the big old lump of metal in the shed called a lathe. So there we are. Right, I think that's it really. I don't have anything else to add, so I think that's probably round. Was it round to Dave again? No, I think it is, isn't it? So GKQ M0DTS for another week. Goodbye.
Okay, thanks Rob. M0DTS and the net G8GKQ. Lots of interesting stuff there. Comments, power supply connectors. I used to use 6-pin Jones plugs. In fact, I've been using those for 30 odd years. But actually Phil M0DNY shamed me into moving over towards power poles, just so I have some standardization with other people. Yeah, don't panic. Yeah, but they work really well. The Jones plugs do. But anyway, slowly moving over to power poles. So I've got a real mix around the shack with lots of adapters between the two. I couldn't manage to mount the power poles inside the version of power supply I'd got. It needed major surgery to do it, so I decided against it. And the other thing is, I think in the version I've got, the voltage determining circuitry is hidden under some sealant, which is a real shame. But anyway, 27.2 will do. Charles commented that the Mars lander looked like it used FFmpeg, which was really amazing. I could see some software like that make it to Mars. The only other thing I was going to comment on is bit rates in your script, Martin. Yeah, 440k is the absolute maximum for 333 FEC2 Thursday VBS2. As Mike says, 420 or perhaps even 400 will make it a bit more reliable. and the 300k is the video bit rate. You need to set the audio. I didn't see what the audio was set to. Mike suggests 32k. Depends on the coding, but that 440 is the really the key one. Okay. Thanks all for coming on. Been really good net, really interesting, and hope to see you all next week. And we'll leave it open to see if Evereast's got any audio. GHGKQ closing the BATC net. Good night.
Better now? 1, 2. The